The black Bentley rolled to a slow stop in front of a rusted iron gate. For a moment, the engine remained running, humming softly in the quiet street. Then the car went silent. Before listening, please note that this story explores meaningful themes of family, humanity, and personal responsibility. It is intended to encourage thoughtful reflection. If you feel unprepared for these themes, you may wish to pause before continuing. Ethan Carter stayed still, his hands resting on the steering wheel, his eyes fixed on the small wooden house beyond the gate. 36 years. That was how long it had been since he had last stood in this exact spot. Back then, he was just a barefoot boy running across cracked concrete, chasing fireflies in the summer heat. This house had been everything: shelter, safety, and the fragile dream of something better. Now, it was nothing more than a structure waiting to be torn down. The city had approved a redevelopment project. A modern shopping plaza would soon rise where his childhood once stood. The compensation money had already been wired into his account, more than generous. But no amount of money could quiet the ache tightening in his chest. Slowly, Ethan opened the car door and stepped out. The scent of dust and old wood filled the air. The gate protested as he pushed it open, the metal screeching loudly in the stillness, as if announcing his return to a place long forgotten. The yard was swallowed by weeds. Broken glass crunched beneath his shoes. The windows were dark, the paint peeling, the roof sagging in places. Condemned. Abandoned. Waiting to disappear. He had come for one last look, to seal away the memories before the bulldozers arrived on Monday. But just as he took his first step toward the front door, he heard it. A sound so faint, so fragile, he almost thought his mind had imagined it. A soft cry, high-pitched, trembling. A baby. Ethan froze. His heart began to pound. That was impossible. The house had been empty for years, yet the cry came again, clearer this time, echoing through the hollow rooms. Without thinking, Ethan rushed forward, pushing the door open. It creaked loudly, and what he saw inside stole the breath from his lungs. In the middle of the bare living room, sitting on the dusty floor, was a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 7. Her dress was torn at the hem, stained with dirt. Her bare feet were blackened from walking barefoot for too long. In her thin arms, she clutched a baby, red-faced and wailing with exhaustion. The girl looked up. Their eyes met. Fear exploded across her face. She gasped, tightened her grip around the baby, and scrambled to her feet, running toward the dark hallway. "Wait!" Ethan called out instinctively. But she disappeared into the back of the house. The baby's cry grew louder, echoing through the empty rooms. Ethan stood frozen, torn, between chasing after her and staying still. Something in his chest told him not to move too fast. She wasn't running from danger. She was running from people. Carefully, he took a few slow steps forward. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently, keeping his voice low. "You don't need to be afraid." Silence. Then, from somewhere deep in the shadows, a tiny voice whispered, "Are you going to call the police?" The words hit him harder than any blow. "No," Ethan answered softly. "I promise. I just want to help." Several seconds passed. Then, slowly, the girl emerged from behind a doorway. She still clutched the baby tightly, her thin arms trembling. Up close, Ethan could see the exhaustion in her eyes. Dark circles, dirt streaked across her cheeks, dried tears. The baby couldn't have been more than 6 months old. He looked dangerously thin. "What's your name?" Ethan asked. She hesitated, then whispered, "Lily." "And him?" "Noah." Ethan swallowed hard. "Where's your mom, Lily?" Her eyes dropped to the floor. She died," she said quietly. 2 simple words, yet they carried the weight of a lifetime. Ethan felt the world tilt, and in that moment, standing inside the ruins of his past, he realized something profound. He hadn't come back to demolish an old house. He had come back to change the destiny of 2 innocent lives. The baby's cries echoed through the empty house, filling the dusty rooms with a fragile, desperate sound. Ethan stood there, his heart pounding, unsure of what to say next. Lily remained frozen in the doorway, her small arms trembling as she clutched her baby brother to her chest. Her eyes darted between Ethan and the shadows behind her, as if expecting danger to appear at any second. Slowly, Ethan knelt down so they were closer to eye level. "You're safe," he said gently. "No one's going to hurt you." The words sounded fragile, even to him. Lily swallowed hard. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Only the baby's crying filled the silence. Finally, Ethan asked quietly, "How long have you been here?" "Since last night," Lily whispered. "We came when it got dark." "And before that?" Her fingers tightened around the baby. We sleep under the bridge." The words struck like ice. Under the bridge. Ethan felt something heavy settle in his chest. "Just you and your mom?" She nodded. "And Noah," she added, glancing down at her brother. Ethan hesitated, then gently asked the question he was afraid to hear. "What happened to your mom?" Lily lowered herself slowly to the floor, sitting cross-legged, as if her legs could no longer hold her weight. She rocked the baby gently, instinctively trying to soothe him. "She got sick," she said. "Really sick." Her voice was soft, almost distant. She started coughing. A lot. She couldn't stop. Then she got really hot. She was sweating, and her breathing sounded bad. Lily's eyes stared at the peeling paint on the wall, as if replaying everything in her mind. "I went to get water. There's a faucet near the old gas station. It's broken, but sometimes it still works." Her voice wavered. "When I came back, she was on the ground. She wouldn't wake up." The baby let out a weak cry. Lily rocked him harder. "I shook her. I called her name. I tried everything, but she didn't move." She paused. "I waited. All night. I thought maybe she was just sleeping, but she never woke up." The silence that followed was unbearable. Ethan felt his throat tighten. "How long ago was that?" he asked quietly. 2 days, Lily said. 2 days. A 7-year-old girl, alone with a baby, surviving on the streets for 2 days. Ethan closed his eyes. When he opened them again, Lily was still staring at the floor. "There were people walking by," she continued. "Cars, buses. Everyone was busy. No one stopped." Her voice cracked slightly. "I tried to ask for help, but people just walked faster." Ethan felt a familiar ache rise. The same helpless anger he had known as a child. "How did you find this house?" he asked. "My mom told me about it once," Lily said. "She said she grew up near here. She said there was a little house with a blue door." She looked around the bare room. "It was blue before." Ethan swallowed hard. It had been. "I walked all day," Lily whispered. "My feet hurt really bad, but I had to keep going. Noah was crying. He was hungry." Ethan's chest felt tight. "What did you give him to eat?" "Sometimes people from the church gave us milk," Lily said, "but we didn't have any, so I mixed bread with water. Mom showed me how." She bit her lip. But he still cried. The baby's cries grew louder, his tiny face flushed, his fists clenching weakly. Ethan stood up quickly. "We need to get him help," he said. "Right now." Lily flinched. "Are you going to take him away?" she asked, panic flashing in her eyes. "No," Ethan said firmly. "I promise. You're both coming with me." She stared at him, uncertainty battling desperation. "Where?" "To my house," he said. "My wife is there. She'll help. We have food, warm water, a bed. You promise we won't be separated?" "I swear it." She hesitated for a few seconds. Then slowly, she nodded. They stepped outside into the afternoon sun. The luxury car parked in front of the ruined house looked unreal, like it didn't belong in the same world. Lily stared at it, wide-eyed. "That's yours?" "Yes," Ethan said softly. She had never seen anything like it. As he helped her into the back seat, he noticed how thin she was, how light her body felt, how small her hands were inside his. Inside the car, the air conditioning blasted cool air. Lily gasped softly. "It's cold," she murmured. Ethan adjusted the temperature. The baby slowly quieted, exhausted. As they pulled away from the crumbling house, Ethan glanced at them in the rearview mirror. Lily was cradling Noah, her eyes darting between the passing buildings, as if, afraid everything would vanish if she blinked. He picked up his phone and dialed. Grace answered on the second ring. "Hey, love," she said warmly. "Everything okay?" Ethan exhaled slowly. "Grace, I found 2 children." Silence. "What do you mean?" He told her everything. The house, the little girl, the baby, the dead mother, the bridge. By the time he finished, Grace was crying. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Bring them home, right now. I'm already on my way. I'll prepare food, warm water, clothes, everything." Ethan felt a wave of relief wash over him. When they arrived at the gated neighborhood, Lily shrank back against the seat, intimidated by the tall gates, the security guard, the manicured lawns. "This isn't where people like us live," she whispered. Ethan met her eyes through the mirror. "It is today." The car stopped in front of a large white house, surrounded by trees. Before Ethan could even open, his door, the front door, burst open. Grace stood there, her hands trembling, her face pale with emotion. When Lily stepped out of the car, clutching Noah, Grace covered her mouth. "Oh, sweetheart." She knelt in front of Lily. "My name is Grace. You must be exhausted." Lily nodded. Grace gently extended her arms. "May I hold him?" Lily hesitated. Her grip tightened. Ethan saw the conflict in her face. Fear of letting go, exhaustion begging for relief. Slowly, Lily handed Noah to her. Grace held the baby with natural ease, rocking him gently. Instantly, Noah quieted. Lily stared, amazed. Inside the house, warm air, soft light, and the smell of soup surrounded them. Lily stopped in the doorway, frozen. Everything looked unreal. Clean floors, soft couches, lamps, flowers on the table. Grace guided her gently to a chair. "Sit. You're safe here." She placed a bowl of soup in front of Lily, along with bread and fruit. Lily stared at the food as if it might disappear. Her hands trembled as she picked up the spoon. She took a tiny sip, then another. Finally, she began to eat. Slowly, at first, then faster, unable to stop herself. Grace touched her arm gently. "There's more," she whispered. "You don't need to hurry." Lily slowed, but tears fell into the soup. Grace sat beside her, holding Noah, saying nothing, just staying. After Lily finished, Grace helped her upstairs to a bathroom filled with steam and soft towels. When warm water touched Lily's skin, she gasped. "I forgot how this feels," she whispered. Grace swallowed hard. As Lily soaked in the tub, clutching bubbles between her fingers, she finally smiled. Just a little. That tiny smile shattered Ethan's heart. Later, wrapped in soft pajamas, Lily sat on the couch, holding a stuffed bear Grace had pulled from a closet. It had once belonged to her niece. Now, it belonged to Lily. "Thank you," Lily whispered. "For what?" Grace asked. "For not being scared of us." Grace knelt in front of her. "Never think that," she said softly. "You are not something to be afraid of. You are something to be loved." Lily stared at her, stunned. No one had ever said that before. That night, as Lily finally drifted into sleep in a warm bed, clutching the bear to her chest, Ethan and Grace stood silently in the hallway. "She's just a baby herself," Grace whispered. Ethan nodded. "And she's carried more pain than most adults ever will." Grace looked at him. "We can't let her go back," she said. Ethan swallowed. "I know." But deep down, he also knew something else. Saving Lily and Noah would not be simple. It would be a battle. And the hardest part? Hadn't even begun yet. Morning light filtered gently through the sheer curtains, painting soft patterns across the bedroom walls. For the first time in days, Lily woke, up without the sound of traffic, without cold air biting into her skin, without fear pressing against her chest. She opened her eyes slowly. For a moment, she didn't recognize where she was. The bed was too soft, the blanket too warm. The air smelled faintly of soap and fresh laundry. Then she remembered. The big house, the kind woman, the man who had found them. Her heart skipped. She turned her head quickly toward the small crib beside the bed. Noah was there, peacefully asleep. His tiny chest rose and fell in a calm rhythm. Relief washed over her. She slipped carefully from the bed, tiptoeing across the carpet as if afraid to wake the entire house. Everything still felt unreal. Downstairs, the soft clinking of dishes drifted through the quiet halls. The smell of pancakes and coffee filled the air. Lily followed the sound, her bare feet sinking into the plush carpet. At the bottom of the stairs, she hesitated. Grace stood at the stove, flipping pancakes, her hair loosely tied back, humming softly to herself. Ethan sat at the kitchen island, scrolling through his phone, his coffee untouched. They looked normal, peaceful, a family. Lily stayed still, uncertain. Grace noticed her first. "Oh, good morning," she said gently, her face lighting up. "Did you sleep okay?" Lily nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Grace turned off the stove and walked over, kneeling to Lily's height. "You don't have to call me ma'am," she said softly. "You can call me Grace." Lily hesitated. "Okay, Grace." The name felt strange in her mouth. Grace smiled warmly. "And you must be starving." Lily didn't answer, but her stomach did, letting out a loud growl. Her face flushed red. Ethan chuckled quietly. "Looks like the pancakes are calling your name." They sat together at the table. Grace cut Lily's pancakes into small pieces and poured warm syrup over them. Lily stared at the plate, overwhelmed. No one had ever prepared breakfast just for her before. She picked up her fork carefully, as if the food might disappear. She took one small bite. Her eyes widened. It was warm, sweet, soft. Before she realized it, she was eating faster. Grace placed a gentle hand on her arm. "Slow down, sweetheart. There's plenty." Lily froze. Plenty. The word echoed in her mind. She slowed her movements, but the fear of hunger was hard to silence. Across the table, Ethan watched quietly. Each small gesture told a story. Every cautious bite, every nervous glance, years of survival etched into a 7-year-old's behavior. After breakfast, Grace led Lily upstairs to show her the bathroom. Inside, fluffy towels hung neatly beside the tub. Colorful bottles lined the shelves. "This is all for you," Grace said. "You can take a bath whenever you want." Lily touched the towel. It was unbelievably soft. "Thank you," she whispered. Grace handed her clean clothes, leggings, a sweater, fresh socks. "They might be a little big," she smiled, "but we'll get better ones later." Lily nodded. While Lily bathed, Grace tended to Noah. She cleaned his sore skin, applied soothing cream, and changed his diaper. He fussed for a moment, then relaxed in her arms. "You're safe now," she whispered to him. When Lily came out, her hair damp and brushed, wearing the oversized sweater that nearly swallowed her, Ethan barely recognized her. She looked younger, softer, like a child again. Grace gently braided her hair. "Do you like braids?" she asked. Lily nodded. "My mom used to do this." Grace paused, then continued slowly, carefully. "I'm sure she did it beautifully." Lily swallowed. "She said braids keep bad dreams away." Grace tied the end gently. "Then I hope you have the best dreams tonight." Lily looked at a reflection in the mirror. She almost didn't recognize herself. Later that morning, a knock came at the door. Ethan stiffened. Grace looked at him questioningly. "I called the pediatrician friend," Ethan said. "I wanted someone to check Noah again." The doctor, Miller, arrived with a warm smile and a small medical bag. He examined Noah carefully, listening to his heart, checking his reflexes, weighing him. "He's malnourished and dehydrated," the doctor said quietly. "But he's strong. With proper care, he'll recover." Lily watched anxiously. "Is he going to die?" she whispered. Dr. Miller knelt beside her. "No," he said kindly. "He's going to grow strong, just like you." Tears filled her eyes. Grace squeezed her hand. That afternoon, Lily explored the house. She moved slowly, touching everything. The couch cushions, the picture frames, the plants. It felt like stepping into someone else's life. In the living room, she stopped in front of a large photo on the wall. Ethan and Grace stood together, smiling, arms wrapped around each other. "You don't have kids," Lily said quietly. Grace felt her breath catch. "No," she admitted. "We tried. For a long time." Lily looked down. "I'm sorry." Grace knelt. "You don't have to be. Some things just happen differently than we expect. She paused, choosing her words carefully. But that doesn't mean life stops being beautiful. That night, Lily struggled to fall asleep. Every time she closed her eyes, images of the bridge, the cold nights, her mother's still body flooded back. She curled into herself, clutching the stuffed bear. A soft knock came at the door. Grace peeked inside. "Can I come in?" Lily nodded. Grace sat beside her on the bed. "Bad dreams?" she asked gently. Lily nodded. Grace brushed a hand through her hair. "Would you like me to stay until you fall asleep?" Lily hesitated, then whispered, "Please." Grace lay beside her, keeping a small space between them. She began to hum quietly. It was an old lullaby her mother had sung to her. Slowly, Lily's breathing evened out. Grace stayed long after she slept. Downstairs, Ethan waited. "She's been through too much," Grace whispered when she joined him. Ethan nodded. "And yet she's still gentle." Days passed. A routine formed. Morning breakfasts, walks in the garden, doctor visits. Lily began to laugh, just a little at first, then more. She and Ethan planted flowers in the backyard. Her small hands dug clumsily into the soil. "What are we planting?" she asked. "Hope," Ethan replied. She grinned. That evening, as they watered the new plants, Lily suddenly said, "I don't want to go back." Ethan froze. "Back where?" "Under the bridge," she whispered. "You won't," he said firmly. "Not ever." "But what if someone makes me?" Ethan knelt in front of her. "No one will." She searched his face. "Promise?" He nodded. "I promise." Later that night, Grace found Ethan sitting alone in his office. "You're thinking about the paperwork," she said. "Yes." They both knew. This wasn't simple. There were laws, procedures, investigations, social services, background checks, court hearings. "What if they take her away?" Grace whispered. Ethan exhaled slowly. "Then we fight." Grace looked at him. "You're serious?" "I've never been more serious about anything in my life." The next morning, a social worker named Karen arrived. She observed quietly, asked gentle questions, watched Lily interact with Grace and Ethan. She examined Noah's medical records. Before leaving, she pulled Ethan and Grace aside. "Lily has experienced significant trauma," she said. "She'll need stability, counseling, and patience." Grace nodded. "We'll give her everything she needs." Karen studied their faces. "I can see that." As her car disappeared down the driveway, Grace felt her heart tighten. This was just the beginning. That night, Lily drew quietly at the dining table. Grace peeked over her shoulder. It was a picture of 4 stick figures holding hands. One small, one tiny, one tall, one with long hair. "My family," Lily whispered. Grace swallowed hard. "You included us?" Lily nodded. "You make the house warm." Grace pulled her into a gentle hug. For the first time, Lily didn't hesitate. She leaned into it. And in that moment, without paperwork, without court orders, without signatures, they became something more than strangers. They became family. But beyond the warmth of their home, a storm was already gathering. One that would soon test just how far love could go. The knock at the door came early the next morning. Ethan was halfway through pouring coffee when the sound echoed through the quiet house. He froze. Grace looked up from the stove, her eyes already filled with unease. Neither of them spoke for a moment. They both knew this moment would come. Ethan set the coffee pot down slowly and walked to the front door. When he opened it, a woman in her early 40s stood on the porch, holding a leather folder against her chest. She wore a navy blue blazer and carried herself with professional calm. "Good morning. My name is Karen Mitchell," she said gently. "I'm a social worker with Child Protective Services." Grace appeared beside Ethan instantly. "Please," she said, "come in." Karen stepped inside, her eyes quietly scanning the room. The clean floors, the warm lighting, the photos on the walls, the soft toys scattered in the corner where Noah lay on a blanket. Her gaze softened slightly. "I'm here to assess the children's current living situation," she explained. "And to begin the formal process." Grace nodded. We understand. Karen crouched beside Noah, greeting him with a gentle smile. He blinked up at her, then reached for her finger. That's a good sign, she murmured. She turned to Lily, who stood frozen near the staircase, clutching her stuffed bear. And you must be Lily, Karen said warmly. Willie nodded, shrinking slightly behind Grace's leg. Karen didn't push. Instead, she knelt a few feet away. I just want to talk, okay? No one's in trouble. Lily didn't answer. Grace gently squeezed her hand. It's okay, sweetheart. After a few seconds, Lily whispered, okay. Karen asked simple questions. What did Lily like to eat? What games did she enjoy? Did she feel safe here? Each answer came slowly, carefully. Yes. 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 But when Karen asked, do you miss your mom? Lily's lip trembled. Grace felt her heart twist. Karen softened her tone. It's okay if you do. Lily nodded. Every day. The interview continued. Karen took notes. She observed how Grace soothed Noah, how Ethan spoke gently to Lily, how Lily instinctively stayed close to Grace whenever she felt unsure. After 2 hours, Karen finally closed her folder. You're providing excellent care, she said, but legally we must follow procedure. Grace swallowed. What does that mean? Karen hesitated. There will be background checks, home inspections, medical evaluations, and psychological assessments for Lily. There may also be court hearings. Ethan nodded. We're ready. Karen looked at them carefully. There is also the question of the biological father. Grace's breath caught. We don't know where he is, she whispered. Karen nodded slowly. That will be investigated. After she left, the house felt suddenly smaller, the silence heavier. Grace sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. I'm scared, she whispered. Ethan sat beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. So am I. Upstairs, Lily pressed her ear against the bedroom door, listening. Her small chest tightened. She had heard that word before. Court. It meant rules. It meant strangers deciding things. It meant not having control. That night, Lily barely touched her dinner. Grace noticed immediately. Are you feeling sick? She asked gently. Lily shook her head. Did I do something wrong? Grace froze. No, of course not. Then why do they want to talk to me? Lily whispered. Grace knelt beside her. They just want to make sure you're safe. That's their job. Lily stared at her bowl. But what if they make me leave? The words cut straight through Grace's heart. Grace gathered her into a hug. That won't happen. Lily clung to her. You don't know that, she whispered. And she was right. Grace didn't. 2 days later, Ethan sat in a quiet office across from a family law attorney named Rachel Stevens. She listened carefully as he explained everything. When he finished, she exhaled slowly. You did the right thing, she said. But this won't be easy. Ethan nodded. I expected that. Biological parents have strong legal rights, Rachel continued. If the father comes forward and petitions for custody, it could complicate things. What if he abandoned them? Ethan asked. Then we have grounds, she replied. But we must prove it. What are our chances? Rachel studied his face. Emotionally, I'm on your side, she said. Legally, we'll need evidence, witnesses, and time. Time. The one thing Lily feared the most. The following weeks became a blur of paperwork, interviews, home inspections, and medical evaluations. A child psychologist began weekly sessions with Lily. Dr. Amanda Cole spoke softly, drawing pictures with her, slowly guiding her through her memories. Lily spoke about the bridge, about cold nights, about holding Noah so tight her arms ached, about being afraid to fall asleep because she might not wake up again. Dr. Cole later told Grace, she has severe separation anxiety and trauma. Stability is crucial. Grace nodded, her eyes wet. We'll give her that. At night, Lily insisted on keeping her bedroom door open. Grace and Ethan left theirs open too. They placed a baby monitor near Noah's crib, its soft glow comforting. Still, Lily often woke from nightmares, crying silently into her pillow. Grace would come immediately, sit beside her, stroke her hair, whisper reassurances until her breathing slowed. But the fear never fully left. Then, one rainy afternoon, everything changed. Grace was folding laundry when the doorbell rang. She assumed it was another caseworker, but when she opened the door, she found a man standing there, soaked from the rain. Tall, thin, dark hair plastered to his forehead. His eyes held a sharpness that made her stomach drop. "I'm looking for Lily Brooks," he said. Grace felt the blood drain from her face. "And Noah." Her heart began to race. "Who are you?" The man exhaled slowly. "I'm the father." Behind Grace, Lily stood frozen at the top of the stairs. She stared at the man as if seeing a ghost. Her grip tightened around the railing. The man's eyes found hers. For a split second, something unreadable crossed his face. Then it vanished. "Hey, Lily," he said. Her knees nearly gave out. Grace stepped forward instinctively, blocking his view. "You need to leave." He raised his hands calmly. "I just want to see my kids." Grace's voice shook. "You abandoned them." His jaw tightened. "I had my reasons." Before Grace could respond, Ethan entered the hallway. One glance at the stranger told him everything. "Who are you?" Ethan demanded. The man straightened. "Mark Brooks," he said. "Their father." Ethan felt a surge of rage. "Get off my property." "Not until I see my children." Lily's breathing became shallow. She backed away, trembling. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." Grace rushed to her. "It's okay," she murmured. "You're safe." Mark took a step forward. Lily screamed, a raw, terrified sound that ripped through the house. Ethan moved instantly, positioning himself between Mark and the staircase. "Leave. Now." Mark hesitated, then smirked faintly. "You've gotten attached," he said. "That's understandable." Ethan clenched his fists. "You lost that right." Mark shrugged. "I hear you've been playing house with my kids." Grace bristled. "They are not your kids," she snapped. "Not after what you did." Mark's eyes narrowed. "Careful," he said. "Legally, they still are." Silence fell. Heavy, threatening. Mark sighed. "Look, I didn't come here to fight. I came to make a deal." Ethan's stomach tightened. "What kind of deal?" Mark glanced toward the stairs, where Lily hid behind Grace, then back to Ethan. "You want to keep them," he said. "I want to start over." Ethan stared at him. "What do you mean?" Mark rubbed his jaw. $50,000, he said casually. "In exchange, I sign away my parental rights." Grace gasped. Lily sobbed. Ethan saw red. "You're trying to sell your children?" Mark shrugged. "Let's call it a compensation." Ethan lunged forward, but Grace grabbed his arm. "Don't," she whispered urgently. Mark smirked. "Think about it. It's nothing to you, and it solves all your problems." Ethan took a slow breath, then spoke with deadly calm. "Get out." Mark's smile faded. "You're making a mistake." "No," Ethan said. "You are." Mark glanced upstairs one last time. "This isn't over," he warned. "I'll see you in court." Then he turned and walked back into the rain. The door slammed behind him. Grace collapsed into a chair, shaking. Lily broke down completely. "I don't want to go with him," she cried. "Please don't make me go." Ethan knelt in front of her, holding her face gently. "No one is taking you anywhere," he said firmly. "I promise." But even as he said the words, fear twisted deep in his chest. The house remained silent long after the door slammed shut. Rain battered the windows, streaking long lines of water down the glass, as if the sky itself were crying. Grace sat frozen on the couch, her arms wrapped tightly around Lily, who sobbed uncontrollably, her small body shaking with fear. Ethan stood in the center of the room, his fists clenched, his chest rising and falling rapidly as he fought the rage burning inside him. For several long seconds, none of them spoke. The baby monitor crackled softly from upstairs, reminding them that Noah was sleeping peacefully, unaware that his entire future had just been threatened. "I don't want to go with him," Lily whispered brokenly. "Please, please don't make me." Grace pressed her lips against Lily's hair, holding her close. "We won't," she whispered. "We promise." But promises felt fragile in the face of the law. That night, Lily refused to sleep alone. She curled between Grace and Ethan in their bed, clutching her stuffed bear and Grace's hand, her fingers cold and trembling. Every time thunder cracked, she flinched. Grace whispered soothing words while Ethan lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Mark's voice echoed in his head. Legally, they still are. The words felt like a knife. At dawn, Ethan quietly slipped out of bed. He walked into his office, closed the door, and dialed Rachel, their lawyer. She answered groggily. "Rachel, it's Ethan." He came. There was a pause. "The father?" she asked. "Yes." "What did he want?" Ethan hesitated. "Money." Rachel exhaled sharply. "Did he make an offer?" "He demanded $50,000 in exchange for signing away his parental rights." There was silence on the line. "That's extortion," Rachel said firmly. "Did you record it?" "No." Ethan clenched his jaw. "I should have." "Don't blame yourself," she replied. "But from now on, all communication must go through me. Do not engage with him directly again." "He threatened court." "Let him," Rachel said calmly. "This actually strengthens our case." "How?" "Because it proves he's acting out of financial interest, not parental concern." Ethan nodded slowly. "What do we do next?" "We prepare for war." The next few weeks were relentless. Rachel gathered evidence. Medical records showing Noah's severe dehydration and malnutrition. Witness. Statements from doctors, therapists, and social workers. Reports from Karen, the CPS caseworker. Private investigators tracked Mark's background. What they found was worse than expected. He had been unemployed for over 6 months, evicted from 2 apartments, arrested twice for petty theft. He had made no attempt to contact Lily or Noah after abandoning them. No child support payments, no welfare checks, nothing. Rachel compiled everything into a thick legal file. "This is strong," she said, "but we must prepare for emotional warfare. He will try to manipulate the court." "How?" Grace asked. "By claiming redemption. He'll say he's changed, that he wants to be a father now." Grace felt her chest tighten. "And if the judge believes him?" Rachel met her eyes. "Then we fight harder." Meanwhile, Lily's anxiety worsened. Every knock at the door made her jump. Every unknown car slowed outside sent her running to Grace in tears. One night, she woke, screaming, convinced Mark was standing over her bed. Grace rushed in, holding her until dawn. Dr. Cole, her therapist, expressed concern. "She's living in constant fear of losing stability," she said. "Her trauma is being re-triggered. A clear resolution is critical." But legal resolutions took time. One evening, Ethan arrived home to find Lily sitting quietly at the dining table, drawing. She slid the paper toward him. It showed 4 figures holding hands beneath a bright yellow sun. But off to the side, there was a dark shadow, separated from the others. "What's that?" Ethan asked gently. Lily swallowed. "That's him." Ethan felt his heart sink. "I don't want him near us," she whispered. "I'm scared he'll take Noah." Ethan knelt beside her. "He won't." "But he said he could." "He lied." "But he's my dad," she whispered. "Doesn't that mean he can do anything?" Ethan searched for the right words. "Being a father isn't about blood," he said quietly. "It's about showing up, protecting, loving, choosing your children every day." Lily studied his face. "Then, are you my dad?" The question stole his breath. Grace, standing in the doorway, froze. Ethan hesitated only a second. "If you want me to be," he said softly. Lily's eyes filled with tears. She threw her arms around his neck. "I do." Grace covered her mouth, unable to speak. That night, Ethan and Grace held each other in silence, both knowing that the deeper their bond with Lily and Noah grew, the more devastating the loss would be if they failed. Then, the call came. Rachel's voice was sharp and urgent. "He's filed for full custody." Grace felt her knees weaken. "When?" Ethan asked. "This morning." The court date was set for 3 weeks later. 3 weeks. An eternity. The legal battle dominated their lives. Meetings, depositions, psychological evaluations. Mark's lawyer painted a narrative of redemption. A broken man seeking forgiveness. A father longing for his children. He claimed he had been homeless, that he had fallen into depression. That fear and shame had kept him away. Grace wanted to scream. "Where was that shame when my daughter was starving?" she cried after one meeting. Ethan held her tightly. On the day of the preliminary hearing, the courthouse loomed gray and imposing under heavy clouds. Lily stayed home with Noah and their babysitter, but she clung to Grace's coat before they left. "Please come back," she whispered. Grace knelt. "We will." Ethan kissed Lily's forehead. "No matter what happens, you are loved. Always." Inside the courtroom, tension thickened the air. Mark sat confidently beside, his lawyer wearing a clean suit that barely masked his hardened expression. When his eyes met Ethan's, a smug smile tugged at his lips. The judge entered. Proceedings began. Mark's lawyer spoke first. He described a man who had lost his way but found redemption, who now stood ready to reclaim his role as a father. He spoke of biological bonds, of forgiveness, of second chances. Then Rachel stood. She spoke quietly, clearly, with devastating precision. She presented medical records, photos of Noah's condition upon arrival, testimony from Dr. Miller, statements from social workers, Lily's therapy reports. Finally, she revealed Mark's demand for money. Mark shifted in his seat. Rachel's voice hardened. This man did not come seeking his children. He came seeking profit. Mark's lawyer objected, but the judge allowed it. Rachel continued. Mr. Brooks did not ask about their health, their schooling, their emotional state. He demanded cash. Mark leaned forward. That's not true, he snapped. Rachel turned calmly. Then deny it. Silence fell. Mark hesitated, then muttered, I just needed help. You tried to sell your children, Rachel replied flatly. The courtroom stirred. The judge raised his hand. Enough. He looked directly at Mark. Is it true you requested money in exchange for relinquishing your parental rights? Mark swallowed. Yes. A gasp rippled through the room. Grace squeezed Ethan's hand. The judge's face hardened. Mr. Brooks, he said coldly, children are not bargaining chips. Mark's bravado crumbled. I was desperate, he whispered. So were your children, the judge replied. The hearing ended without a final decision, but the shift was unmistakable. Outside the courthouse, Mark stormed past them. This isn't over, he snarled. Ethan didn't respond. He simply held Grace closer. That night, Lily waited by the window. When Ethan's car pulled in, she ran outside barefoot, throwing herself into his arms. They didn't take us, did they? She cried. No, he whispered fiercely. And they won't. Grace joined them, holding both children close, but deep inside, the storm still raged, because the final judgment had yet to come, and everything they loved hung in the balance. The courthouse stood silent beneath a pale winter sky. Cold air bit through coats and scarves as people filed slowly through the heavy glass doors. Every footstep echoed across the polished marble floors, carrying the weight of decisions that would change lives forever. Ethan walked beside Grace, their hands tightly intertwined. Neither of them spoke. There was nothing left to say. They had prepared. They had prayed. Now, all they could do was wait. Inside courtroom 4B, the benches were already half full. Social workers, court clerks, a few journalists, and in the front row, Mark Brooks sat beside his attorney, his posture stiff, his jaw set. When he glanced back and caught sight of Ethan and Grace, his eyes narrowed. No fear, no shame, only resentment. Grace felt her stomach twist. She leaned closer to Ethan. No matter what happens, she whispered, we stay calm. He nodded. The bailiff announced the judge. Everyone stood. Judge Harold Monroe entered, his silver hair neatly combed, his face unreadable as he took his seat behind the bench. Be seated. The room obeyed instantly. The air felt thick, heavy, electric. The clerk read the case aloud. Brooks versus Carter. Petition for custody and termination of parental rights. Grace's heart pounded so loudly she feared others could hear it. Rachel stood first. She spoke with calm precision, guiding the court through every piece of evidence. Medical records, CPS reports, therapist evaluations, financial documents, witness testimonies. She showed photographs of Noah from the day he arrived. Frail, dehydrated, eyes sunken. Then she showed photos from 3 months later. Round cheeks, bright eyes, steady weight gain. The contrast was devastating. She read Lily's therapist's notes aloud. Patient exhibits extreme anxiety at the thought of separation from her current caregivers. Removal would likely result in severe psychological trauma. Several people in the courtroom shifted uncomfortably. Rachel paused, allowing the weight of the words to settle. Then she turned toward the judge. "Your Honor," she said, "this case is not about biology. It is about responsibility, love, presence, and protection." Mark's attorney objected, but the judge waved him off. "Proceed." Rachel continued. "Mr. Brooks abandoned his children in a state of homelessness. He made no attempt to contact them, no effort to provide support. When he finally reappeared, his first demand was financial." She turned slightly, meeting Mark's gaze. $50,000 in exchange for relinquishing his parental rights. A murmur rippled through the room. Mark's face reddened. Rachel's voice hardened. "That is not parenting. That is trafficking in everything but name." Mark's attorney rose quickly. "Objection. Sustained in part," the judge said. "But the court will consider the intent." Mark leaned forward, anger flashing in his eyes. "She's lying," he snapped. Rachel turned calmly. "Then explain your own words, Mr. Brooks." Mark hesitated, then spoke. "I was desperate," he muttered. "I had nothing. I needed a fresh start." "And your children?" Rachel asked softly. "They were better off without me." A hush fell over the room. Rachel let the silence linger, then said quietly, "Then why come back?" Mark clenched his fists. "I changed my mind." Rachel nodded slowly. "You changed your mind when you discovered they were living in $1 million home." Mark shot to his feet. "That's not fair." "Sit down," the judge ordered sharply. Mark obeyed, breathing hard. Now it was his attorney's turn. He painted Mark as a flawed man seeking redemption. He spoke of addiction, of depression, of mistakes, of second chances. "Every parent deserves the opportunity to make things right," he concluded. "And biological bonds should not be severed lightly." The judge leaned back, steepling his fingers. Then, slowly, he looked at Mark. "Mr. Brooks," he said, "how long were your children homeless?" Mark shifted. "Several months. And during that time, how many times did you contact social services, shelters, churches, or charities seeking help for them?" Silence. "How many times did you check on their well-being?" Silence. "How many times did you attempt to provide financial support?" Silence. The judge sighed. "Now, tell me why you believe you deserve custody." Mark opened his mouth, closed it. Opened it again. "I'm their father." The judge studied him. "For the record," he said calmly, "being a father is not a title. It is a duty." He turned toward Ethan and Grace. "Mr. and Mrs. Carter, please stand." They rose together, hands clasped. "You knowingly accepted 2 children into your home with no legal obligation," the judge said. "You provided medical care, stability, and emotional support. You subjected yourselves to scrutiny and investigation without hesitation." He paused. "Why?" Grace swallowed. "Because they needed us," she said softly. "And because they became our children long before paperwork made it official." The judge nodded slowly. "And if I grant this petition, you understand the lifelong responsibility this entails?" Ethan answered firmly. "With every part of our hearts." The judge leaned back. The room held its breath. After what felt like an eternity, he spoke. "This court exists for one reason: to protect the best interests of the child." He looked at Mark. "Mr. Brooks, your actions demonstrate a pattern of abandonment, neglect, and financial exploitation." Mark's face drained of color. "I therefore find sufficient grounds for termination of parental rights." Grace gasped, covering her mouth. Ethan felt his knees weaken. The judge raised his voice slightly. "The petition to terminate the parental rights of Mark Brooks is hereby granted." A stunned silence. Then the judge turned toward Ethan and Grace. "And I grant permanent legal guardianship with full authorization to proceed toward adoption to Ethan and Grace Carter." Tears streamed down Grace's face. Ethan closed his eyes, emotion crashing through him like a wave. Mark sprang to his feet. "No, you can't do this!" The bailiff stepped forward. "Sit down, sir. This is my blood," Mark shouted. The judge's gaze hardened. "Your blood nearly starved to death." Mark's mouth opened. No words came. The gavel struck once. "Court is adjourned." Grace collapsed into Ethan's arms, sobbing openly. Around them, quiet murmurs of relief and disbelief filled the room. Rachel squeezed Ethan's shoulder. "You did it." "No," he whispered, voice breaking. They did. Outside, the winter sun broke through the clouds for the first time that day. Grace stepped into the light, her tears freezing on her cheeks. "They're ours," she whispered. Ethan nodded. "They're safe." They drove home in silence, hearts racing. When they pulled into the driveway, Lily was waiting at the front window, her face pale. The moment she saw them, she ran outside, barefoot, hair flying. Grace dropped her bag and knelt. Lily crashed into her arms. "What happened?" she cried. "Please tell me." Grace pulled back just enough to look into her eyes. "You're staying." Lily blinked. "With us," Ethan added. "Forever." For a second, Lily didn't move. Then her knees buckled. Grace caught her as she sobbed. Deep, shaking sobs of relief. "I don't have to leave?" she whispered. "Never," Grace said fiercely. Behind them, Noah stirred in the arms of the babysitter, letting out a soft coo. Ethan lifted him, pressing his forehead gently against the baby's. "You're home," he whispered. As the front door closed behind them, the house felt different, lighter, warmer, safer. The house no longer felt like a place of fear. Morning sunlight spilled across the wooden floors, warming the quiet corners where tension once lingered. The air smelled of fresh coffee, toasted bread, and something sweet baking in the oven. Grace moved gently through the kitchen, humming a soft melody as she flipped pancakes. At the table, Lily sat coloring, her tongue poking slightly from the corner of her mouth in concentration. Nearby, Noah lay in his baby seat, kicking his chubby legs and babbling happily. Ethan stood at the doorway, watching. This was everything. But healing, he had learned, was not instant. It arrived slowly, in small, fragile moments. Lily still woke some nights crying, haunted by memories she could not yet fully understand. But now, instead of curling alone in fear, she padded quietly into Grace and Ethan's bedroom. Grace would open her arms without a word. Ethan would pull her close, and Lily would breathe again. Dr. Cole continued her weekly sessions. "She's beginning to trust stability," she explained one afternoon. "That's a huge step. Trauma rewires a child's nervous system, but love, consistency, and safety can heal it." Grace nodded, eyes shining. "We'll give her all three." They did. Every day, family dinners became sacred rituals. Ethan insisted they eat together, no matter how busy his schedule became. Some nights were filled with laughter, other nights with quiet reflection, but they were always together. One evening, after dinner, Lily tugged at Ethan's sleeve. "Can you help me with my homework?" He smiled. "Of course." They sat at the dining table, working through simple math problems. Lily struggled, frustration creasing her brow. "I'm stupid," she muttered. Ethan froze. "No," he said gently. "You are brave. And brave people sometimes struggle because they've had to survive instead of study." Lily blinked. "Really?" "Yes, and now you get to learn." Her shoulders relaxed. A small victory. Noah, too, began to thrive. His laughter filled the house, echoing down hallways that once knew only silence. Grace recorded everything. His first crawl, his first tooth, his first attempt to say, "Mama." The sound shattered her heart in the most beautiful way. But healing also meant honoring the past. One afternoon, Lily asked a question Grace had both feared and expected. "Can we talk about my mom?" Grace sat beside her on the bed. "Yes," she said softly. "Anytime you want." Lily pulled out a small, wrinkled photograph from under her pillow. It showed a tired woman with gentle eyes holding a tiny baby.
My mom's name was Sarah,
Lily whispered. She was very tired, but she always sang to Noah. Grace studied the photo, memorizing every detail. She loved you very much. I know, Lily said. She tried, even when it was hard. Grace pulled Lily into a hug. She was brave. They created small rituals to remember Sarah, lighting a candle on her birthday, telling stories about her kindness, keeping her memory alive without letting it anchor them in pain. Love expanded. It did not replace, it added. Months passed. The final adoption hearing approached. Unlike the tense courtroom battles before, this day felt different, lighter, brighter. The judge smiled when Lily and Noah were brought forward. Lily wore a soft blue dress. Noah, a tiny suit with a crooked bow tie. Grace knelt beside Lily. How do you feel? She whispered. Lily squeezed her hand. Happy. The judge read the final decree. From that moment forward, Lily Brooks and Noah Brooks would legally become Lily Carter and Noah Carter. Grace sobbed. Ethan closed his eyes, overcome. When the judge declared, "Congratulations, this adoption is final," the courtroom erupted into applause. Lily beamed. Afterward, they celebrated quietly at home. Balloons filled the living room. A cake sat on the table, simple but perfect. "Welcome home," Grace whispered as she hugged both children. For the first time, Lily whispered back, "Mom." The word lingered in the air. Grace inhaled sharply, her heart bursting. Ethan felt tears slide freely down his face. That night, they tucked Lily into bed, her new name, written carefully on a small wooden plaque above her pillow. "Good night, Lily Carter," Grace said softly. Lily smiled sleepily. "Good night, Mom. Good night, Dad." Later, Ethan and Grace sat on the porch, watching the stars. "Do you ever think about how close we were to losing them?" Grace murmured. "All the time," Ethan admitted. Grace leaned against him. "Maybe that's why we love them so fiercely." Ethan kissed her temple. "Maybe." Inside, Lily slept peacefully. No nightmares, no fear, just soft breathing and dreams of tomorrow. For the first time in her life, the future felt safe. And that, more than anything, was the miracle. Years passed quietly, not in dramatic waves, but in gentle, ordinary moments, the kind that slowly build a life. The Carter home remained full of laughter, music, and the comforting chaos of family. Lily grew into a thoughtful young girl, her eyes still gentle, but now bright with curiosity and hope. She loved books, especially stories about distant places and brave heroes, and often spent hours curled on the couch reading, while soft sunlight poured through the windows. Noah became her shadow. He followed her everywhere, down the hallway, into the garden, even to the edge of her bed at night when he was supposed to be asleep. His laughter rang loud and free, a sound that once seemed impossible in those early days. Grace and Ethan watched it all with quiet gratitude. They had learned that happiness was not found in grand achievements, but in these simple details: shared breakfasts, bedtime stories, scraped knees, school projects, and whispered prayers before sleep. One autumn afternoon, Lily came home from school unusually quiet. Grace noticed immediately. "What's on your mind, sweetheart?" she asked. Lily hesitated. "Today in class, we had to draw our family tree." Grace felt a familiar ache in her chest. "And?" Lily handed her the paper. At the bottom were 4 names: Lily, Noah, Mom, Dad. Above them, in soft pencil strokes, floated one more name: Sarah. Grace swallowed hard. "I didn't want to leave my first mom out," Lily whispered. "Is that okay?" Grace pulled her into a hug. "It's more than okay. It's beautiful." That evening, they framed the drawing and placed it in the living room, next to family photos and Noah's finger paintings, because love does not erase the past. It honors it. Years later, Lily stood on a small stage at her middle school graduation. Her speech was simple, her voice steady but full of emotion. "I used to believe that family was something you were born into," she said. "But I learned that family is something you choose. And when someone chooses you, when they fight for you, when they stay, that is love. Grace wept openly. Ethan held her hand, his chest tight with pride. Lily looked out at them and smiled. Noah, sitting between them, clapped wildly, his crooked grin shining. Life continued. There were arguments over homework, doors slammed in teenage frustration, long talks late into the night. There were birthdays and disappointments, triumphs and failures. But through it all, there was one constant. They never walked alone. One winter night, many years later, the four of them sat together by the fireplace. Snow fell softly outside. Noah rested his head against Ethan's shoulder. Lily leaned into Grace. And in that quiet moment, Ethan realized something profound. He had gone to tear down a house, and instead, he had built a family. Grace caught his gaze and smiled, as if she could read his thoughts. Some blessings arrive disguised as ruins. Some miracles arrive disguised as loss. And sometimes, the most beautiful chapters of our lives begin on the worst days. Some miracles don't come from money. They come from a single act of kindness at the right moment. Ethan came back to tear down a house, but instead, he built a family. And from that day on, Lily never had to fear another knock on the door. Do you think Ethan made the right choice? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next story.